So today we're going to take a look at factoring and solving. So yesterday we worked on finding the y-intercept as well as the vertex. Today we're going to look at different ways for finding the x-intercept. So you guys did this last year as well, but we're going to take a look at factoring. And last year you guys talked about two different ways of factoring. So the first way we're going to look at is that box and circle. So when we had our quadratic, we wrote in our 8x squared plus 2x minus 3. This is the part that got tricky that some people missed. On the outside, we multiply a times c. So our a value times our c value. So a times c is negative 24. And now we're looking at things that multiply to negative 24, but we want them to add to the 2x. So I look at this and I think 6 and negative 4. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24, and you add them and you get 2x. So we're going to take those and we'll write them in these other corners. And then we have to factor and find the outside. So what is the greatest common factor of 8x squared and 6x? Well, 2x goes into both of those. Well, 8x and I'm not really sure why I wrote 42 here. Let's make that 4x. So 2x times what gives you 8x squared is 4x. So 2x times what gives us 6x, so this would be positive 3. And 4x times what gives us negative 4, that would be negative 1. So this factors into 2x minus 1 and 4x plus 3. But if our goal is to solve it, we have to set each one of these parentheses equal to 0. So 2x minus 1 equals 0. So we add 1, 2x equals 1, divide by 2. So 1 x-intercept is our x equals negative 1/2. And then we set our other factor, 2x plus 3 equals 0. Solve this, minus 3 and divide by 4, we'd have negative 3/4. So what we're going to do now is look at the same problem, only with a different way of solving it. So factoring by grouping. And some of you guys liked this last year if you didn't want to draw the box and circles. So we multiply 8 times 3, so the same thing, and we get negative 24. What multiplies to negative 24 and adds to 2? So we have our, once again, 6 and negative 4. So we're going to rewrite this as 8x squared plus 6x minus 4x minus 3. So we didn't really change anything at all. We just 6x minus 4x gives us 2x. We just expanded it. And then factoring by grouping, if we cut this in half, what goes into 8x squared and 2x? Well, the greatest common factor is 2x. So we're left with 4x plus 3. And our goal is to make these parentheses the same. So we have that over here, but it's negative. So if we factor out a negative 1, we'd have positive 4x plus 3. So let's see, it factors into one parenthesis, the one that's the same, 4x plus 3. And the other parenthesis is 2x minus 1. And again, to solve, we'd have x equals negative 3/4 and x equals 1/2. Now, one other way of factoring that you went over last year was difference of squares. If it's just the ax squared term plus the c, I should say it has to be minus a c here, because it has to be difference of two perfect squares. So if we can take the square root of both of these, it factors into 2x, the square root of 196 is 14, so minus 14, and 2x plus 14. So if we were to solve this one, it would cross at 14 over 2, where x equals 14 over 2, and x equals negative 14 over 2. And again, this only works for two terms if it's the difference of two squares. So another example would be if you had x squared minus 9. What would this factor into is x minus 3, x plus 3. And so it would cross at x equals 3 and x equals negative 3. Another one, again, you just have to be able to take the square root. What if we had 9x squared minus 25? You can take the square root of both of these, so 3x minus 5, 3x plus 5, And where does it cross? And if back at this first one, you were like, Miss Susie, where'd you get this 14 over 2? You're setting each of these parentheses equal to 0 and solving for them. So if you solved them, you'd have x equals 5 over 3. You'd subtract the 5 and divide by 3, so negative 5/3. So let's see if we can take a look at one more of factoring. What if we factored x squared plus 5x plus 6? So if we were to do the box and circle, we have x squared, 5x, and 6. The a, well, our coefficient here is just 1 times 6. So 1 times 6 is 6. So it multiplies to 6 and adds to 5. We have 3 and 2. So we got 3x and 2x. And then we can find the outside. So x times x plus 3 plus 2. So it factors into x plus 3, x plus 2. But if we said solve this, it would cross at x equals negative 3, x equals negative 2. So let's look at one by grouping. What if we had x squared plus 8x plus 12? So if we wanted to use the grouping method, a times c is 12. So it multiplies to 12 and adds to 8 is 6 and 2. So x squared plus 6x plus 2x plus 12. So we'll divide this up. What comes out of this left side, we can pull out an x. So we have x plus 6. What about this right side is 2, so x plus 6. So it factors into x plus 6 and x plus 2. So if we were to solve this, x equals negative 6 and x equals negative 2.